Sally.
Hi, Katie.
We're back. How are you doing?
I'm so wonderful, thank you.
How are you holding up? Is it like 8,000 degrees there?
It is, but I was at the beach all day yesterday, so I gave zero darns about it. And now that I'm back on dry land, it's just, I don't want to be part of your world. It's lousy. It's not sandy enough. I'd rather be just diving right into the world's largest mass grave.
See, oh my God. I was in Santa Monica yesterday. I had a great
Hey.
time. The best thing about Santa Monica is that you walk for about 75 miles to get to the beach, which I love that. And then when you actually get
I like
on
that
the
because then you
beach-
earned it. You deserve it when you get there.
Exactly. It feels great. When you actually get there and you start going in the water, the breakers take so long to get past that it goes from like shallow to deep back to shallow again. So it's like,
Ooh,
not
I like
only
that. You can get way too far. Yeah, no one can get to you.
exactly,
Especially the lifeguards, unfortunately.
exactly,
But you know what? That's part of the deal. You're an adult. You go out there.
Listen, I go anywhere I'm appreciated, and if the ocean is calling me, I'm there. It's taking me with it. That's where I'm supposed to be. But I really enjoyed that. But hey, guess what? We're back inside. We're back to being inside kids talking about comics again. And we have a special episode lined up today. This is going to be our first interview on Thick Lines. And it's going to be with Leomi Sadler, who just put a book out called Tummy Bugs that is out now from Breakdown, which is very cool. Thank you so much to them for sending me a copy of the book. It's very awesome. And we are doing this episode in partnership with Autoptic Festival. Now, Autoptic is normally an in-person comics festival. Obviously, for the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do that, so they are doing it digitally again this year. And I have some copy from them I'm going to read. Autoptic is teaming with Thick Lines, Gutter Boys, and the Uncivilized Territories podcast for a series of 9 readings and interviews featuring some of comics' best artists and storytellers from around the world. Make sure to follow Autoptic on Instagram at Autoptic Festival and Twitter at Autoptic Fest to stay up to date and subscribe to Gutter Boys and Uncivilized Territories wherever you get your podcasts. Now, obviously, you're also going to want to subscribe to us before those other ones. Make sure you do that right away. But I'm very excited about this, and thank you so much to Autoptic and again to Breakdown also for getting those books to us.
Thank you. We love them. I don't know if you noticed this. I didn't until we read Tummy Bugs, but we have read almost nothing in color. We've only, I think, read one other book in color, which is, of course, Archie.
And the Max.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So just to edit that out. Okay. Well, when I read Tummy Bugs, we hadn't read the Max yet, and I made these notes. But yeah, like lots of black and white stuff. I mean, the Max definitely, I think the coloring did an amazing job because they used all of them, but also tons and tons of black, which I love. Mm-hmm. Archie, obviously the colors are terrific. I swipe them for my own work all the time, like every day. Tummy Bugs, Katie, have you ever seen like those rainbow bagels for sale or on the internet?
Yes.
I've
seen them in the bagel store.
You haven't eaten one, have you?
I have not, because from my understanding, it's just a plain bagel, but it just has the color, right? It's not like anything flavor-wise. It's not doing anything
I doubt
special.
it. I assumed it was an egg bagel because then they wouldn't have to dye the yellow part, but you're probably right because I haven't done the research. But like, don't eat those. Eat this comic because it is exactly the same colors. It is the full, like when you first open it up, you get this like full bleed Barbie page, which I like, just such a great introduction. Like this is what it's going to keep looking like. So be ready. And then the double ladybug.
Very cute.
All right.
Now, was this your first time looking at Leomi's work? Because I believe that I'd seen it before in Kramer's.
I was going to say, I saw her name and I was like, who's that? Who's that girl? And are you a Kramer's person?
You know what? Whenever I get my hands on a copy, I usually read it.
Yeah.
The only one I haven't read is the giant one.
Well, how can many of us read it?
I had to take out a student loan
and just like you got to rent a new apartment so just for that book to fit in. Like you can't read it. I mean, it's fun to see, but like I need to I need a gallery space where there's like a robotic arm turning the pages in there. I can't do it. That's so like Kramers for me, there's always some artist that I can trust. I know will like deliver what I want. And I feel like there's always some artists that feels like they're intentionally being difficult. Like it seems like they're really attracted to artists like who are trying to give me a hard time. And that's fine because like I absolutely deserve it. But if you're not going to be playful with me at this like if you can't be playful about it, then I don't really know what you have to offer to me. Someone else.
Right. You feel like you are being confronted by some of the work in Kramers and you don't like what it has to tell you.
If you're the kind of person who just like doesn't realize how bad they should feel about themselves on a daily basis, like probably that kind of work is great for you. But for me, someone who's I'm already down there, I want to, I want to have a little fun. I just want to have a little fun. You know that. Mm-hmm. Everyone listening knows that. That's all I talk about on here. So this episode this is just Katie clipping up things I've said in previous episodes. I'm not even really here. But anyway, so Sadler is in this book as well, and this is something like I was reading Tummy Bugs and like I know I've seen this work somewhere. I didn't remember. So her stuff from the Kramers that I think came out in say 2011 or 2008. It was a distant past. I don't even remember. Is in black and white or has like very little color. Okay, 2011. Excuse me. And it was like the stories that are in there are fun. Like she has this farmer character, and I like that it's called Tummy Bugs. And like we're not joking around with the bugs part. Like this book is full of bugs. This bug action up, down, left, and right. And it was like so thrilling, like diving into a pool to see like, oh my god, this is what this stuff looks like in color. Like these are like wacky whack colors. Also that bright hot pink you see, like that continues through the rest of this like fluorescent hued book. So how did the colors make you feel with this?
I feel like she's occupying this really interesting space between digital and analog colors, because it feels like all of the design work that's around the book, like the back cover that is very it feels very late 90s internet, where it's just like all these gradients and like huge text and it's kind of ugly. And then
when was the last time how there's a shadow under some of the text? When was the last century you saw that in?
I mean, it's been a minute. So I was happy to see that because it's like, whoa, like that's a very conscious decision to do that. But I like the colors in this book a lot. I like that they all look like somebody spilled water on them a little bit, there's a muddled quality to them. And sometimes it looks as if like maybe the pages got stuck together a little bit and things bled through. It's a very uneasy book for that reason.
Yeah. It feels like the pages shouldn't be as smooth as they are because they're all like this layers of stuff. Like a lot of the artwork looks to me like this was the last time this was seen alive because there's obviously so much watercolor on this paper that it's like going to disintegrate eventually. Like this paper is now, this was scanned or copied at like the last possible second before it just, when you put on too much watercolor and the paper's wavy and you're like, oh, I should have used like cardstock or something. Or shouldn't have used cardstock. I should have stretched a canvas and I should have gotten my oils out because the paper is so wavy. Yeah, it is uneasy in that way. Like the comics in this are interspersed with like paintings and drawings. By the way, so the digital copy, obviously, like you can check your page numbers on it. This, like the table of contents is like very detailed for all to see and tells you the page numbers of everything. There's no page numbers in this book though. So like, thank you. Just more, you guys are all against me and that's fine. The theme of loneliness and friendship and time comes up a lot in this. Like, I love the way she draws clocks. Time is against us all. Like so much of the text is like Vanta Black, like it's dark. But then there's these like cute characters. The drawings remind me a lot of like the drawings in the comics specifically remind me a lot of Gary Lund. Do you know that guy?
It sounds familiar.
You might know him how I know him, which is he's the illustrator for the comic book that accompanies the point. And then in the movie, those drawings are based on his stuff. With his comics, like he's crazy with his panel distortion. Like he's the max with his panels. Like he's really out there. But like the actual and like Sadler's comic panels like are a lot of times these like perfect neat little squares. Like every once in a while there's an insert panel, which I really, oh my gosh, there's this one scene where there's a ghost person in these ruins, and the farmer, there's this farmer character we see walking around and sees like he's chasing these neon pink balls around that have these sort of ghost forms inside. One of them is his nose, then we realize is one of these things. It shoots off. He's looking for it. And he's like, well, at least it didn't land in the graveyard. But then there's this ruined building and like a white form is inside of it. He says, oh, at least it didn't land in the graveyard. Who's asleep in the ruins? He's looking around for his nose. And then we just see this insert panel that says, go away, humanoid. And this floating white person talking about, in the silence, you can hear the trees creak and the cars in the distance sound like sea. A feeling we've all felt. And like so like really just like these dark inner thoughts coming up again and again. But then there's these like bright, happy faces. And I feel like drawn in a different style, I would feel like I was being toyed with a little bit too much. But just it seems so like the drawings feel so honest and like innocent in a way that hearing these really dark things, I don't feel like it's some like smart aleck. Like I don't feel like it's like Flaming Carrot being like this reference. Like, can you even believe? Like it feels like every page of this comic, I'm like, boo hoo hoo, like oh man. The animal comic in the beginning, where there's a happy animal keeping his male brutality under control, and he's pulling a giant barrel of mustard, which makes me want to die. In the last panel, he says what we're all thinking. I feel like I have so much potential if someone just gave me a chance.
There are also full page illustrations for some stories that are just like no panels, it's just full pages. What I really like is that they have this sort of demented like clip art break room feel to them, where if the text had been a little bit different and maybe the drawing had been a little less creepy, it would be something you'd see photocopied and hung up in like the lunchroom. Do you know what I mean? Like something about just like hanging in there or just like smiling until it makes you feel better. There's a lot of dark subject matter in these stories, but they have this charm to them that does make them disarming, and then you kind of enter the cycle of being disturbed by them all over again.
I love that you said it makes you think of break room clip art. I was thinking a lot of the stuff reminds me of like packaging illustration, because it looks like, you know, you can see references to things you've seen before in like mass production, but then it is a bunch of these blue forms trying to get a little boy to curl up into a tight ball. They say once he's gone, he won't feel anything bad anymore. Oh, God.
Let's talk about this dimension that these little creatures, that the tummy bugs live in. First of all, are all the stories about tummy bugs? Or is it just that's the title of the book? What do you make of tummy bugs?
There's so many actual bugs. Like, oh man, the comic where in Mini Bugs, where it's we're hanging out with our farmer again. He says life is boring when there's nothing you want to do. Yeah, we know. And he tries to make friends with bugs, but then change a quick turn and then tries to kill them instead. Just don't trust friends who crawl all over you. And then the final panel of it, like the bug and its 6 legs but looks like the farmer. It says, being lonely is easy. Like then, like in that space, we have actual bugs. But then like later when we're dealing with this, the space princess. I love the space princess. She's like, the space princess I am alone, my only clone. Tragic. That she's tending to this garden on this planet all by herself. And then when her overlords come to check on her, they're suspicious that she's mentions like, oh, this is a good place to relax when I take a dinner break. And they're like, you take a dinner break. Like, oh. I look forward to checking your time log. And then there's a panel and she's holding up a log with a clock on it and hatch marks on it. Like they're being so mean to her and manipulating her, and she's just seems so innocent. Like my first visit says, "Oh, my dear, let me why not show me around your garden?" And the speech bubble is just her speech bubble. It's just a daisy. It's just a drawing of a daisy. Like she's just so kind and just taking care of these plants all by herself, and she longs to be around other people, especially because she's a clone and a princess, and that she's like it feels really sad, and then just like this having this log is hilarious with hatch marks on it of her show, like this log
Yeah.
that's full of hatch marks. Like, yeah, I've been by myself for a really long time, and you're still being mean about it.
How do you feel about the way that these comics are composed? Because there's interesting little shifts throughout the book, like where there will be a ton of panels, there'll be like a grid of panels and everything is packed into one page. Then sometimes it's just like a 2-column grid. Sometimes it's full page illustrations, like I said, and then sometimes there are gutters between the panels of the comics. I feel like that lends to that sense of unease. And there's also and I say this with all love, this is not meant to be rude or anything like that, but there's this amateur quality to it that also makes it feel really fresh in that way.
I thought you were going to say art brut, but
Oh,
yeah,
that too, sure.
like
That's
it's
a
just
better way to
like
say
if
it.
the if the drawings were, if it was really tight,
Mhm.
I feel like it would feel kind of phony. Though when you say tummy bugs, like I feel like that kind of goes with, I mean, I guess we can ask her, but
Mhm.
I'm asking you.
Mhm.
That makes me think of the unease because like there's so much uncertainty in this universe, except that like basically like your time is going to end at some point, like, and you're probably going to be lonely. But you guys, you have to take a look at the artwork here, because I feel like if I just was seeing like the type of what's in this book, I would be like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. But just in contrast with these like loose, it's not like they're rough drawings. Like it doesn't, it just these, it looks like here's the sketch of what I wanted it to happen, like what I want to happen, and then we're gonna fill it up with color and we're gonna keep moving. Like like we don't need to beat this to death, unless there's sometimes she's got these collages that like have a million lines on them and are super detailed and have like a lot, like looking at the images of these collages in real life, it seems like these must be like real thick. Like these are slabs. Like this is like a real dagwood of a collage.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I wonder if tummy bugs is not only because of the literal like bugs that we're seeing all over the place here, and then these creatures that, like, there's references to humans because the space princess is growing like a crop of humans on the planet, and they're like which no one seems to really be in favor of. Like this isn't a great idea, and like we want to abandon this planet. Like hopefully the humans won't take over, and like dot, dot, dot. Just the tummy bugs, like, ooh, like not feeling quite well. Like we're not totally okay. Like it's not. We don't know what's going on right now. Feeling that happens in this
Mhm.
whole book.
The color, like I said, it's a mix of organic and then what appears to be digital material, right? Like the ladybug colors look digital. Obviously that Barbie pink that you were talking about, it looks like we get some digital on on the cover. And I will,
I mean, you
obviously.
can't get that in real life.
Right.
You know that.
Right. Yeah. And we will confirm all of this with Leomi when we speak
No,
to her.
you can't. I mean, Mattel won't release the rights to it. You have to do it digitally.
It's true. It's true. I appreciate the tension in all of these. And another thing that I really like is there's this sense of urgency in terms of the layout of the panels, in that it's kind of like what's going to fit. Like the text is obviously important, but it's like it's not lined. It's not going to be like
Hmm.
it's not going to be this elegantly composed thing. A lot is kind of fit into one panel, but it communicates things really well, and the flow is really good. So I would like to find out like what comics she's into and what she's looking at, because obviously there's an understanding and appreciation for the language of comics in Tummy Bugs that's coming out, even if it is something that is unconventional in this way.
I would be interested too. Just, I mean, aside from Gary Lund, like, have you ever seen the comic book that came with the point?
No, I I just heard the point on the radio the other day, or a song
Oh,
from it, Me and My Arrow, I guess. And I was like, man, you could just kind of do whatever, and people would be like, great idea. It's like this guy has a point head, but
yeah. Well,
nobody else. Is it cool? Is it good? Is it bad? And then like you can do a whole fucking album about it. It's like, goddamn, what a time. Anyway, but no, I have
truly.
not seen that.
Oh, I think Nilsson. I don't know if this. Sometimes you hear stories of
Hmm.
the old rock and roll world, and like, I feel like you could have made this story up. Like, this could be true, but also like this would have been an easy thing to make up just to like get some garner some interest. Apparently, he came up with the idea for the point because he was on acid and just outside looking around, as you do on acid, just staring at objects that are within the vicinity and just seeing the trees, like, oh, the trees are pointed here and all the houses are pointed. Everything has a point, which is the whole album that we love so much. But aside from Lund's work, which, like, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of 70s illustration from that era that reminds me of his kind of stuff. But also, like, the way she draws clocks, like, there's this clock yelling slow down that really makes me think of, like, 1930s, like, animation. Like, a silly, like, fun looking reference that not doesn't, like, take you out of the story, but it's just, like, takes you, like, we're still having, like, a big playful element here, even though there's this, like, bully, like, kicking and breaking everything and
Hmm.
yelling that like by destroying stuff, at least he's doing something. Like we all know that guy. Ugh, he just can't wait. Oh, and then he ends up going to like he breaks down a door in the middle of nowhere to get into this picnic of really some of the grossest food that I mean it's not drifting classroom, but like it looks pretty bad. And finally broke down the door and he's here. And they say, oh, you don't need a door to come to this picnic. And he looks like a bug too. He looks like a slug. He says, "Oh, you just let anybody in?" And the host says, "Everyone is invited, especially the most delicious ones." Yeah, love that. Love that gag. Love that gag. Yeah, like it's all like always a good finish.
My favorite panel, I would say, is the farmer. I'd rather jump on the bed because suddenly it's like
Yes.
his head has like melted and he's become like 2 feet shorter. It's really cute. There's again, everything that I say, it just sounds like I'm being rude, but there's like a childlike sense of
No, this
narrative.
is great. No, I love that this is how you're behaving the one time we're actually paying attention
No,
to
I'm
the
trying,
audience.
but okay, go with me. I'm not trying to say
No,
childlike
go
as
ahead,
in
Katie. No, go on. Yeah, no, hey, I'm listening.
I'm not trying to say childlike as in bad, but it just kind of reminds me of, when you would be little and you would make up stories and like see them through to a conclusion in your mind. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a
Oh
level of
yeah.
imagination there, I should say, that is willing to depart from any sort of worldly logic. And because it's also, even if there are abstract elements to it, I mean, the comics that are in there are very linear, you know? There's a
Yeah.
hyper focus on what's happening and like onslaughts of this or that feel very straightforward in that same way that if a little kid was like telling you a story, it would feel that way.
Oh, absolutely. And about like, kind of like childlike drawings. Something that this really reminded me of is some of the best art I've ever seen, which are the drawings that children do in the back of textbooks when they are so bored they cannot take it anymore. I feel
Hmm.
like some amazing art. I've seen some incredible art at least come out of there. Did you ever get like a textbook and you turn your textbook back into school and then you get punished if like there's too many lines in it, but like is anyone checking those? Please call in. Our lines are open. Call in if that's your job to check through textbooks to see how many like dicks are drawn in the margins. Because it reminded me of like when my pre-algebra textbook had so many drawings about being bored in it that really remind me of this, but so much great artwork is done when you're supposed to be doing trig, you know?
Yeah, it's true. That's what I like about it. That's what I'm very charmed by this comic, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with Leomi.
I'm sure she's doing great, but there's so many things in here that like it starts out so funny and then like one of these guys who ends up on the planet where the space princess has left says, "I'll just pretend I'm dead so I can stay here forever." Like, oh boy. Like lots of and you understand where he's coming from. Or like there's one where there's all these are again like creatures, these just like circles with faces and arms. That's all you need. Oh, it's part of Imagine Change. I think it's the end of Imagine Change, where they're getting in line, waiting for my turn, and then find out that they're getting in line because they're about to die and trying to hide behind a mask, hiding from society, hiding their faces, hiding their eyes. But then finally they realize they forgot to hide from someone because Satan's here and he's going to punish you. Like, a really great black and white cookie of dark and light. So fun. God, please read this book. You might need to wear sunglasses to get through it because man, the saturation is like honestly like nothing I've ever seen. Is like I had to read it outside. It's right.
Are there any other artists that come up for you when you look at this? Because I see a little, I mean, especially in the comics towards the end, a little bit of like a Tove Jansson in some of the designs, like kind of a Moomin-esque quality.
Oh, yeah. Especially like I feel like her I was gonna say backgrounds, but a lot of times it's the foreground. Like when she just draws like miscellaneous like plants and like foliage in the foreground. I feel like that reminds me of this, where it's like this, like these are plants, even though like they're absolutely not like real plants in the known universe. Like you understand that that's what we're here for, and also how a lot of not all of them, but like a lot of the panels are one plane. Like everything, like how orderly they are does make it like much easier to read when there's so much activity going on and so much like line work going on in some of them. Just that you have this like very reliable grid, but then like you said, you'll have like the same grid, the same style grid, and then like just a 2-page spread of like, look at these plants. Like nobody says anything.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course interspersed with just some like standalone art. Kate, what was your favorite of the while I'm trying to find the thing that I thought would speak to you, did you have a favorite of like the standalone pieces from this book?
Definitely the cats. The scratching posts. Cats are natural pleasure seekers, I believe is what it is. Yes. I loved that. Again, because it just feels like this, like it could be a break room kind of thing. It could be like a meme-able, like, a proto like digital meme that, you just randomly see like on a poster or posted up in somebody's classroom or something like that. I have this real fondness for it because when you think about that sort of art, it's like, where did that come from? Somebody had to draw that originally,
Yeah, I forgot about them. I love the cats. Ugh.
I love the coloring on this one too. It's the pages on this cat comic, they're all like full bleed, just like full cyan, I want to say. So it's quite intense. But the cats have this pink or red highlight on them.
Yeah, it almost looks like construction paper, like the texture.
Yeah, it's very textured and there's a lot of layers to the color in this one that I think are really cool. I just think it's really cute in general too.
Oh my god, wounds always heal eventually while one cat is like bandaged and carrying toxic waste and the other one has his eyes bandaged and is like stitches all over the place. Like in real, the stitches, what is that Steve Weissman character? His like head and arm, pull apart boy. It's but like hammering a nail into a plank. Wounds always heal eventually. I hope these cats make it. Okay, so when I think this is in Mini Bugs, like back to chasing these pink balls around in the farmer's nose that has just like disappeared to who knows where. And then you turn the page, and before we've just been in like full color, like blue sky, green grass. Turn the page, and this is a page that originally appeared in black and white in Kramer's. The page is completely neon yellow, and we're with new characters. That there's these rat characters that you actually see on a previous page, but I don't think they interact with anyone. These rats come along. This rat comes and like there's these dying flowers that flies are swarming around. He says, "What's that nasty smell? It's made me feel sick. I can't even touch my dinner." And the next morning, one rat comes and says, "Come on, wake up. We'll be late for school. I don't feel well enough." but if we don't go together, the bully will bite me. But then he has to end up going to school by himself. But then we're so happy because finally the farmer's nose has returned and it obliterates the bully. And like you can see his like legs like flying apart. And we feel so happy. But I wanted to say the page facing that there's this drawing of, I don't know Catholic stuff. I would guess it's like a monk. I don't know what it
Looks like
is.
a friar,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that's why we're giving you a promotion.
See?
Yeah, that made me. I really happy that you were reading this. It's him praying in his like gnarly bed. No one, no purpose, nowhere. That's Catholic, right? That phrase.
Absolutely. Well, I also have to point out again just this design element that like is so unpleasant, but it makes you so happy to see it. Because first of all, the no one, no purpose, nowhere is in like an italic kind of papyrus
Oh
font,
God.
all caps and in quotes. And then there's also this. It's a little detail, but there's a white border around the drawing that just has like a little bit too much tension between it and the image,
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, like it feels like, who made this? Like,
Yeah.
what is this for? I really, really love it. Yeah, and there's this like friar with a deformed face on his knees praying next to his bed. And it looks like he's praying to like a black hole or like some kind of galaxy that's within his chamber. And then there's also bars on the window. It's so strange. Like you couldn't place this image if you tried to. I think that's the general feel that I get from Tummy Bugs. It's just like it's these liminal images.
I mean, I feel like I can place this one. I feel like it's from my pre-algebra textbook, but I'll just like rip this one out and hang it up just to remind, just like, don't get too comfortable. All right. Are you ready to make a phone call?
Yeah, I'm ready to get Leomi on the line. We've got questions for her. I'm looking forward to talking to her. So let's go for it. We'll be right back. All right, so here we are. We are joined by Leomi Sadler, whose book Tummy Bugs we just discussed on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Leomi.
Hello, I'm curious to know what you discussed.
Well, we loved it. I think it's awesome. We talked a lot about your use of color, and I was wondering if right off the bat you could talk a little bit about your coloring process because it's very dynamic and very cool and unlike anything I've really seen in comics before.
Oh, that's a big compliment. I use marker pens. That's that's the secret. I just use marker pens. I use very thin paper so that they end up very flat. I like flat color. I try not to spend too much time on the computer, so I found that, very flat marker pens are good because I don't have to like touch them up much on the computer. And I suppose maybe the types of colors and stuff I use are informed by like a wider drawing practice. I draw a lot outside of comics, and I think that kind of is what informs. That's why the comics look that way.
Mhm. There's a lot of texture in your color work. Are you doing any sort of like post process to the color or
Some actually there are pages of the book that have come from like sketchbooks. Well, not where they're. I was drawing for a while. I was making these kind of collaged books, and I was drawing on the fronts and the backs of each page. So probably, yeah, I like bleed through a lot.
Well, there's so much texture in the pages.
Yeah,
It's great seeing these. The book has these, super smooth, flat pages, but it still looks so textured. You can see like the paper disintegrating beneath your fingers.
Yeah, I mean, I like that paper. I like layers of like glued together paper. I'm looking at the book now.
Yeah, it's
And I see
good,
what you mean.
right?
Yes, it is not. It is a bit more than just markers. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a lot of collaging, and that's where the texture comes from. What else am I using? I'm just looking if there's other techniques. There's like one spread where I use kind of pastels. There's some painted stuff. There's all kinds of things. People are going to have to just buy a copy of this book and have a look for themselves. Buy it now.
Absolutely.
It is nice seeing pages that look like marker, and then you take a break and there's just like a collage that's got so much stuff going on, just like a nice big pile, or just like the end of a story just having like a 2-page spread of something completely different, or like it looks like there's one page that just looks like this sort of like firework of, I would have guessed it was paint, but it could just be like you pressing as hard as you can with marker. It's just like, this is over, and then you move on to like a totally different comic. It's like a great to have this feeling.
Yeah. There is no. There's all. I'm looking at it now, and there's like crayon stuff. There's paint stuff, and some of the pages are like enlarged, and I think that probably enhances the texture and stuff as well.
Oh, that's nice. How big are these panels in real life?
So most of this stuff is on A4 sheets, except for a few pages are a bit smaller than that. So it's kind of pretty close to the actual size that it's done. There's these like blue pages with these cats, and that's enlarged quite a lot. They're like tiny drawings.
Oh, we were just talking about that because there's so much texture on that paper. Mm-hmm. What about, at the beginning of the book, before friendship, great example of friendship.
Oh, yeah.
With that Kusama shirt with there's 2 armholes and 2 head holes. What the crusty old weeds painting? How do you do that?
That is, so in the back I can see, those blow pens that little kids have. It's like it's like an airbrush. It's like a felt tip pen with a hole, and you blow through it and it blows air against the tip of the pen. So it's like a miniature airbrush.
Oh,
but it's very blotchy and specky.
I've never heard of
that. Sounds so fun.
They're okay, but you get very out of breath and like a lot of drool comes through.
Great.
So that's in the back. I'm looking at it now and I can see. Actually, there's a homemade marker pen that I tried to make. There's like these big kind of.
Wait! Stop! How are you making a marker pen?
Well, I tried.
Yourself?
I was like really looking at these like graffiti forums and like, like glue sticks and kind of deodorant with the rollers. They always seem to me like, they would make such good like giant markers, and I was like, I'm sure people have done this. And I was trying to research like if it was possible, and I tried making. Apparently, if you get like like a classroom like whiteboard eraser, it's like a big thick sponge, and apparently if you cut that into strips and then make it into kind of a tube and then jam that into like a glue stick, you can soak it in ink and it can become a marker. Ooh. So I think that's what that is. There's these like spirals that I tried. That was a bit of a failure, but and then there's just paint markers on top. I'm a bit too impatient to use paint, so I use paint markers quite a bit, and I like the opacity.
Well, because paint markers will wait for you,
Yeah.
You don't have to like paint's not like that. Like paint, like you have to be paint's mistress, but if you have paint markers, it's so fast.
Exactly. I don't have time to wait for.
Sure.
Like I'll run out of like.
I mean, the theme of time shows up in this book so often. I can see you probably don't have the time.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme. Yeah, like if you run out of like, if you spend too long doing something, you can really lose that like thing that made you want to do it in the first place, and then like, or you can become really judgmental and be like, oh, this is bad. I'm gonna give up on this. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's good
how are you saying
fast.
Words that Katie is thinking right now, is what I'm wondering. How's that happening?
Could you talk a little bit about the tummy bugs themselves? Where do they come from? Where did the inspiration come from? How long did it take to create this book?
It's nice that there's this idea of tummy bugs are actual things. I just wrote that in my notes on my phone because it was such a good phrase, and I realized tummies are like these kind of chubby, soft, squidgy, lumpy shapes, and I think that's a good word to use. That's kind of shapes that I like using in my work. So tummy is good, and bugs are good because they're these kind of unpredictable little characters you can project things onto easily. Do you know what I mean? They're not defined. You see a cartoon cat or a cartoon mouse or something, then there's something to be expected. But an insect has kind of got a bit more room for you to have fun with it. But the book itself actually did start ages ago, and I think between myself and Breakdown Press, both being pretty easily distracted, I think it was pretty much finished a couple of years ago, but we just took a while hammering in those last few things. But it's a collection. I'm looking in. So there's work from 2009 in this book, all the way up to last year. It is things that have kind of appeared. It's like a collection of stuff that's been in other anthologies or other little projects, but never fully kind of put together like this.
It's crazy to see, that's more than a decade of work in here, but it still I know that you do lots of other work besides comics, but it was great to see how coherent this was, because I would not have guessed that this work spans such a huge amount of time.
I was actually pretty shocked
we were
as well.
talking, it makes it doesn't feel, I don't want to say it doesn't feel all over the place, because there's a lot going on in here. But I mean, as the work itself just feels like very a coherent piece. You can really see that these all go together nicely. When you've done so much, Katie, we were talking before. I don't know if this is a good time to mention. I am getting a divorce because I just want to seek a full-time relationship with the robe you designed for Heresy. It's so gorgeous. There's so much other work that you've done is great. It's wonderful to see how this stuff all fit together. Do you read a lot of comics yourself?
I used to. I barely.
When you're seeking out art, do you feel like you lean towards something with a narrative more, because even your paintings here have a lot of them have a pretty clear narrative and relationship between the characters that's going on?
God, that's a good question. I want to answer it well. But
I mean, Katie does edit the show, so I do hope you answer it well.
Take your time. There's no.
So, do I read many comics? Not really. I really really don't.
You're not in trouble.
I'm not that interested. I don't know. Actually, I read whenever every now and then I go in the comic shop in Nottingham, and if there's a new Junji Ito book, I'll get that without hesitation.
Oh,
I love Junji Ito. And that's about it. I'm just looking at my bookshelf now. Hang on. I read anthologies that my stuff is in when they send me a copy. Actually, no, I have been trying to order more. I have been trying to support artists more and order more stuff. And the books that Piao put out, I really, really love. And I think it's really sad that they are not going to continue, because I think that they're incredible. And I really love what they've done for people inspired by manga, but not just trying to make manga. I think they're amazing. And Sarah Horrocks, I bought some of her books recently, and Coco Pallock's comics are really, really good. I love her stuff. So there's a few people who I like. If something comes up, I'm I've got to get that straight away. And I'm kind of like allowing myself to buy comics more because I was being really like tight before. It's actually a good thing to do. So yeah, I love. What do I do? It's quite bad. I don't really consume much. Like I feel like I've really lost interest in a lot of things. I love watching anime, and what art do I consume? I love like Bruegel.
I can see that. That's cool. I can definitely see that.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think you need to say that out loud, but I mean, I love hearing it. Very much can see that.
Yeah, and like science fiction stuff. I love like books of like concept art for like science fiction films. Actually, I really love like
Oh,
that sort of stuff, and I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube of like how like special effects for and like miniature people making miniature things. Really
that
inspires
is
me.
lovely to see.
And with like art, like I guess like character stuff. I guess like if there's a good face in like a painting, you can't really deny like you. I'm definitely drawn to like characters in paintings if they're done in a way that I'm interested in. I love Julian Chaldi. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Does really amazing paintings. But I also love like Brad Tromel. He's like a really amazing artist.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just try and consume like all sorts of stuff. Um, it's but I don't really invest too much energy in kind of seeking things out, to be honest. I'm a bit lazy.
That's okay. I just was curious, like we were talking before, it looks Katie was saying a lot of the style of the art reminds you of stuff that you see like hang up in the break room. And I feel like a lot of this stuff reminds
Yes,
me of
thank
like
you.
mass-produced packaging.
Yes.
Like, I mean, you don't to find something that I feel like it's a little dorky to say inspires you, but like packaging can inspire you. Like
So
besides,
much.
of
So much.
course, like actual art, like do you find yourself turning towards like these mass-produced images? Like, does that speak to you?
Absolutely, especially like bootleg stuff. There's a really good account that my friend showed me, which is like it's like Doraemon and Hello Kitty bedding and cupboards and like homeware. That's just I think it's made in
Katie, I see you nodding. Do you own
Indonesia.
these items?
But there's something very like that stuff like kind of cartoon images applied to things in like surprising ways or like slightly wrong. Like things you're familiar with are like done a little bit wrong. Like I don't know why that's so inspiring, but that really really gets me. Um, and I really should put more effort into kind of like trying to like siphon that into my own stuff because I know like I could do it. I could kind of go more in that direction, but because of my habits and stuff, I'm just kind of like going with the flow a little bit. There's things that like I would love to do, and then I kind of forget about doing. But I would love to kind of get a little bit, and then maybe that's what also informs my like color choices and stuff a little bit as well. Is that thing of like making sure it's not too nice, making sure things aren't too pleasant, making sure there's always like a little element of like, something's gone a bit wrong or something.
Yeah. It's satisfying in a way, like, when you see a reproduction of something, I don't mean like screen printing where someone's doing this on purpose, but when you see like a reproduction where the coloring doesn't line up with the black line, it's like, oh, that was just a little bit off, and there's 1,000 of them. It's so satisfying to see that big mistake that's like, no, it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, and it just reveals like there's like layers of like things, like there's decisions being made somewhere, and someone's decided like, yes, I think Mickey Mouse is actually this color or something. Or Donald Duck has got like these shoes on today. Yeah.
The tension between the images being a little bit off and a little bit different from your expectation of what they might be, and then your subject matter, which veers often into these places, that are a bit darker about death, about how time is an enemy. There are quite a few references to time being like the ultimate villain within this book. I was wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit to that, if you agree with me, if you think that is a theme of the book. You can also tell me like that. No, that's
Yeah,
not how it works. Like fuck off. But do you feel like there's because the way that these images they feel familiar already, and you're coming to it with like some expectation of art that's shareable, art that's reproducible, like I said, kind of break room type stuff, but that the messaging of it is a little bit left of center, is a little bit
like
off.
the farmer and the bugs don't keep getting along.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is there something there for you, and is that something you're
Like
interested in?
the time as an enemy is just so like a go-to thing for me. It's, it's quite easy to kind of like get stuck and then be like, oh yeah, I hate the feeling of like I have no time, that I'm just going to use that. I don't know. I think a lot of this work was made when I had like a full-time job. And I guess like my whole adult life, I always felt very pressed for time. I always had a full-time job, so everything had to be done during lunch breaks and evenings and weekends and stuff. And there was just this feeling of like, there's so much potential. There's so much I want to do, and it's got so many ideas I want to do, and it just drives me crazy that I have to like stop and go to sleep and then wake up and like go to work. And that's like really was like, until a couple of years ago, that was a situation. I think, I don't know if I would make comics about time now in the same way, because I've, COVID and stuff, it's gone weird. And
I would love to see those time comics, though, if you aren't busy doing all the other stuff that you've got to do. Though, wait, now, okay, if not having a full-time like day job, do you feel like how do you feel about your like productivity? Sorry if this is like we can cut this out if this is like not a cool thing to talk about. But just like I know I have a lot of thoughts about it. I'd love to hear what you think about how you use your time when you do have a 9 to 5 versus like when you do it when you want to do it.
Oh my God, I was so much more productive when I had a full-time job.
Right?
It's insane. Or maybe it just felt like it because like the time I did have, I filled it.
No. I know. I want to go with what you said because I feel that too.
I mean, my friend Yannick Valgesto, he's like someone I collaborate with and talk to a lot. He, in the last few years, has kind of told me like how unhealthy my relationship with like time has been. And he was like, you really need to find a balance. You really, really need to find a balance. And finally, I think I kind of am starting to. I'm like intentionally not doing some, like intentionally lying on the sofa or intentionally watching TV or something.
So before were you just filling up too much of your time trying to work?
Yeah, and like I'd feel insanely guilty if I wasn't. So the kind of like slowing down of stuff has been, I think, was good for like a year or so. But now I'm starting to feel a bit scared that I'll never be able to like be productive again. And don't really want to be, and I'm quite resentful of like having to do anything for anybody now. And like without.
Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us, by the way.
No, this is great. Like this is like work. This is great. I don't feel guilty about this at all.
Okay.
I'm promoting
Katie tells me it's
my new
work,
book, To Me Books and Breakdown Press. I'm just trying to let things happen and not worry too much about it now. I'm quite comfortable, and don't know. Is there like something more that I've missed? That's like.
I mean, I have more questions for you,
Okay.
so you should be ready for them. Oh, I have a question. All right. We spent a little time talking about the copy on the back cover of
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
book. Okay, so whoever wrote it clearly loves you so much. Who wrote this copy?
I wrote it.
Yay!
My friend, my housemate, did this thing where he would. It was like, I'm gonna get some free books to read. I'm gonna join this thing where you send like your favorite book to somebody, and then like people send you their favorite book. And
Nice.
he got like 5 like insanely bad books that he couldn't even bear to pick up.
Oh.
And basically, I looked at at like the back of like maybe 2 or 3 of them, and I just typed it out. I copied it, and then I just replaced a few of the words so it seemed like it was about my work.
I love that.
Wow. Hey guys. Hey listeners. If you've ever been wondering what is the definition of art, that's what it is.
That's
Okay?
all it should
That's
be.
wow. This is my favorite thing that's ever happened.
I mean,
Okay.
I do that a little bit with some of my comics. Maybe not in this one, but I've definitely taken
Mhm.
like text that I found and then just adjusted it slightly. That I think that's a trick I learned from some other artist my friend, there's an artist that I have known for a long time called David Steens, and he does funny things like that. So I've just learned that from him, I think. And yeah, just like the way that people reappropriate stuff. I was like, I can't write a blurb for the back of my book. So
No.
what blurbs do I think are interesting? And then these books just like were in the living room, and I was like, these are crazy. Imagine if my book had something like this written on the back.
Wow.
And I
This
was like,
is
why am I stressing out trying to like come up with something myself? Like this is perfect. I'll just use
That
sure.
that totally rules. I'm gonna start doing that. I love that so much.
You should. Oh my God. Because if I had been in the shop and seen this, I would have. I didn't get to the back until the end,
it.
which is what you're legally supposed to do. But if I had been in a comic book shop and no one was looking and I would flip to the back, I would have died and needed to print it. It's just so incredible. Oh my God. Leomi, do you want to share with us a little bit of that? Just in case there's anyone listening who hasn't gotten their copy in the mail yet.
Oh my God. I want to read it out in like the best voice, but I'm a bit too shy, I think. Can you guys? I'm sorry. I would love to, but I think I'm just too shy, and I don't want to like do it a disservice.
Oh, that's okay. We have been recording you this whole time though, just to like be totally upfront. Okay. You are in a good place. It's break time. You have this book in your hand. It's time to take your discerning taste back to the streets. Feeling we've all felt. Let it rain down upon you, a combination of bright colors and dark humor. That's just true. You'll experience familiar feelings in a way that you have never felt before. So watch your back. Amazing. So good. Also, it's also great to hear you are. See, you've already. I have a list of questions, and you just answered them in the things we're talking about, like why bugs. Can you tell us like what is one of your favorite moments from Tummy Bugs?
That's a nice question. Okay, let me look. I mean, I love the front cover so much. I don't know how I did that.
It
I
is
love
great
the
how much art you deliver with just the cover. Like you have, there's the jacket that's got, French flaps, ooh la la, and then there's this like that's, there's enough work on the cover, but then on the inside, then you've got this other collage before you even open the book. It's such a nice treat.
yay. And my plan was to have like these dense collages on the inside of like all the Leomi library books.
Very cool.
So that's going to tie the graphic designs of them together. And also, wouldn't it be cool if the dust jacket got lost and then it was just this?
Yeah, sure. Anything could happen to it.
Yeah. My favorite page is I really like these like weird Tummy Bugs collages I did. I like the big spotty pages a lot because I felt like I was really being an interesting graphic designer when I did those. And I really love all of it. this is like not interesting radio, but I'm just flicking through it now.
No, but
Looking
like
at all
the boat is hit an
papers.
iceberg and you can only save one. You're jumping out. There's not
Okay.
enough lifeboats. Who's coming with you?
Oh my God, I'm flicking, looking.
Do you just stay on the boat and they all get off?
It's too difficult to. There's like this weird these retired dinosaurs drawing that I
Oh,
did.
that's great.
This like pastel. It's so. I don't think I could ever repeat that picture. I don't know how I did that, and it's just like this very. I don't know. I think it's got some. There's something about it. I'm very proud of that one, and it's quite little. It's just an A4. It's like the same size as the printed in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that one. Yeah, that painting.
What is the relationship between the two dinosaurs?
They're like retired. They're just
Enough said.
retired people
Yeah,
together.
I do.
Are you working on any comics now? Or are you hoping to put more out in the future?
There's I hope there's going to be like at least 10 of these library books.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
The next one, a lot of the stuff is already done. I need to do the cover and I need to figure out the order of it and maybe do some new stuff for it. But I think I've got enough for the next book already. And it's going to be called Comfort Break, and that one's going to be all like break room drawings, like you said. Like it's all kind of like office humor, quite gag, like jokey stuff. And it's all about like being at work. It's not going to be as colorful as this. It's more like black and white and fluorescent yellow.
Well, it's at work.
You
gotta
so
use
that's
the
going to be a
copier.
bit different. Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see that.
So I think that'll be nice to design as well.
Oh, okay. Please work on it.
I was actually working on a comic today.
Maybe
I'm not. I'm gonna just say because I'm sure no one cares. So this brand called Carhartt Whip has asked me to do a comic for this magazine, and they asked me to do a tribute to 2000 AD.
Oh, cool.
Which I did. I went through a phase of like looking for like weird old comics, and I found these issues of 2000 AD that had a comic called Metalzoic by Kevin O'Neill and Pat Mills, and it's about these kind of prehistoric. In the future, there's like these robot dinosaurs basically, and there's like no humans. It's just these like insane, violent robots. Like there's like a lion thing, and its mouth has like a massive chainsaw coming out of its mouth. Really gnarly, like amazing stuff. So I was like, oh, I'll do a tribute to that. But then they just found out that comic is actually owned by DC, and they're not legally allowed to print it. So I had to today and yesterday kind of just replace the character, like change the design of the characters a little bit. So I just kind of stuck new faces on them all. And there was a couple of lines that I had to change as well because they were like directly pulled from this thing. So that was a comic I did actually.
Yeah.
This week.
Well, I mean, you've had practice changing pull type before. I'm sure you could do it.
Yes, exactly.
Nice, very cool. For the next compilation, do you know if that'll be through Breakdown as well?
Hopefully, yeah. I think they're pretty happy with stuff. I think I mean, I've kind of put it on them. It's like this is what's going to happen, and if something happens, but in the meantime, maybe I'll be able to find another publisher. But I really like Breakdown Press a lot, and I think they're a good publisher to work with. And yeah, hopefully they'll keep going forever.
They have a lot of really great artists. That actually a few people that we want to cover in some future episodes too. They have a great catalog.
Yeah, and I think they're like always looking for stuff and expanding, and I think because they're quite involved in small press and stuff as well. Like definitely in the UK, they are like super encouraging and supportive of young artists. So
Like yourself.
yeah, I think. Well, I'm not very young actually.
You'll be 21 in December, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've done so much. Okay, we're almost hitting our limit. I just wanted to ask you the question we always ask everyone we interview.
Mm-hmm.
What was the worst meal you've ever had?
Meal.
Is it the picnic from Motivation and Productivity or the rat's dinner from the end of Mini Bites?
All food is good for you.
Right?
Doesn't matter how it tastes or how moldy it is.
Oh, Mom.
I've never. Have I eaten I've probably eaten quite a lot of moldy food. If I had a bad meal, it was because of the person I was eating it with.
Ooh,
And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not.
I like that. It's so mean.
Is there anything that you would like to plug that we can plug for you on the end of the show?
I'm doing something in a couple of weeks at this place in the UK in Margate called Wells Projects, which is going to be a Tummy Bugs kind of expanded exhibition. We're still figuring out, even though it's really soon, we're still figuring out what it's going to be. I think I'm going to show some like artwork that couldn't fit in the book, like more sculptural stuff or things that just like weren't quite right, or like, so I'm kind of expanding it out. And then I'm also launching a new comic book called Mr. Birthday Cake, and got some new t-shirts as well. So that's happening. And then in September I have a exhibition in a gallery called TG Gallery, which I'm really excited about, which is kind of themed around birthdays and celebrations, and it's going to be like large sculptural stuff and maybe some performance.
Wonderful.
Lovely. That sounds very
When
cool.
do you know when the Wells Project is going up?
Let me look my
Because
calendar.
this podcast is going to be released on August. Insert date here, so it might be just in time.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's nearly August, isn't it? It will be on the 7th to the 29th.
Great.
I can email you some more information about that close to the date.
I would love that. Thank you.
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll put it on the Instagram and everything for sure.
Cool.
Well, Leomi, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for putting out Tummy Bugs. I really love this book, and I'm very excited to see what you do next.
I'm so happy that it's flying around the world and I don't have to like mail these out to people.
Well, because someone else is doing it for you.
Someone else is taking care of it, and it's like reaching people, and I'm so happy. And it's going to be in print for a while as well.
That's wonderful. I am sure that our listeners are looking forward to getting their copies. Leomi, I just wanted you to know we had a little bit of trouble scheduling earlier in the day, and I just wanted you to know that that was completely 100% not Katie's fault. That was me. I'm so sorry.
I thought it was going to be my fault.
Hey, Katie. Thank you for ending the show.
Thank you for your, of course, and Leomi, thank you for your flexibility, and thank you for being our first interviewee on our show.
Oh my God,
this is
that's cool.
A great way to start off a series of interviews. So we appreciate your time and your work, and hopefully we'll be checking in with you again soon on the next book.
Yay! Nice chatting with you guys. Bye.